welcome back to the WTF Premier League Sunderland podcast as we try and review one of the best weekends of our lives as Sunderland made it back to where they belong, or at least where we believe they belong, with a last-minute 2-1 victory over Sheffield United at Wembley. My voice is completely shot, my nose is a bit stuffy, so I'll hand it over to the people who are joining me. First and foremost, the man who sat closest to me in the stadium and cried with me like a baby. Ross Black, how are you doing?
I'm very, very good, mate. What a moment that was.
Mm.
We both just looked at each other and we were just like, "Ah!" We didn't know what to do. We were jumping up and round with tears rolling down our face. It was, oh, what a moment. We'll get into it. But yeah, just still on an absolute high.
I recorded a little segment just after that, and I'm absolutely sobbing. And I listened back and I went, I'm not putting that in. I'm going to get absolutely destroyed if I put that in. But it was a moment we can share between ourselves, Ross.
Yeah, I'm just glad it wasn't picked up by the cameras because it seems like we're very close to a lot of things. But it was a lovely private moment, we'll say, even though it was in the middle of Wembley Stadium in front of 80,000 people.
82,000 to be
82. Well,
precise.
hey, it would have been more if Sheffield United could sell the tickets, but that's a different story.
Yeah, that is a different story. Dave, I haven't seen you since Trafalgar Square, since you went out to Trafalgar Square and then weren't allowed back in. But I'm assuming you had a really good weekend.
Yeah, absolutely class, mate. As per usual, used the gift of the gab, blagged me hitting to the rooftop bar in there at the Hilton, and yeah, just sat and had a few drinks with Pete's dad, which is one of my biggest regrets of the weekend. The fact that Pete didn't make it over, but I realise he's got to work and he's got to feed his family, so that's totally understandable. We know he watched the game and we kept in constant contact, but I'm a bit sad that Pete wasn't there. But his old man did take one for the team by putting up with us, and he's on. Oh, I tell you what bloke! If we think Pete's lovely, the real Pete, as we called him on the last podcast, is phenomenal. He's got a story for everything. He's lived a cracking life, and he's every bit as mental now. So, just to quickly put it out there, Sheffield United was staying in the Hilton, and they took over the whole of level 5. Which is ironic because they didn't take over anything else in London this weekend. I didn't get that in. And next thing, he's in the lift with Kiefer Moore and one of the other lads. And Kiefer Moore gets in, and Pete goes to him. He goes, "Kiefer, is your knee all right after that Bristol City game?" And Kiefer Moore's like, "What do you mean?" And the other Sheffield United players just laughing at him. He goes, "The way you took a tumble for that penalty." He goes, "You must have done your knee in." Anyway, he's like, "Kiefer, just when you get out there, just be careful on the ledge. Don't hurt your knee anymore." And I was just like, "Pete, that's hilarious. You are absolutely on fire." And I've got all the time in the world for stories like that.
Thing is, we are going to replace Pete with Pete Senior. So thanks for your time very much, PGO News. We are now with Pete Senior. Sophie, we got a chance to catch up. I don't know how much you remember of it. I don't know whether you remember meeting me because you had eyes that were made of literal glass. You were like Columbo. You were like the other folk. But you had a good weekend, didn't you?
I did. I really enjoyed myself. I think it's fair to say I had a few, but in hindsight, that's what I've done all weekend. It's been phenomenal. Honestly, it's been the best weekend of my life. And I just couldn't believe, I still can't believe that this has actually happened to us. Normally it's sort of a way around and, we're all depressed and that. But you know what? Roll on the Prem, bring on the Magpies.
Do you know the best part about the podcast? If you listen back to the live show, I keep going back going, oh, I'm not feeling that confident. I even said to Dave, I went, oh, we sound too confident. I need to do a little segment where I don't feel confident, but I was absolutely calm as a cucumber. And if you listen back to the podcast I did in Portugal with Copley and with Phil Smith and that, I was dead calm. And then me and you at Trafalgar just went, we'll do this. Like, I said to Archie, Brad's little one, he went, oh, I'm dead nervous. I went, didn't it be, man? Like, we've actually got this. And I know we'll get onto it. But even when the VAR decision happened, I went, all right, okay, that makes sense. Like, but it just felt really calm all weekend, and that really added to it, didn't it, Soph?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a weird feeling, especially going like through the week. I just felt more and more confident. It just felt like it was written in the stars. Like you don't score a goal like that, Dan Ballard doesn't score a goal like that, and you don't get promoted. It just feels like that everyone was, against us. The media was against us in terms of, all the other teams were falling over themselves to get us in the playoffs because they thought Sunderland easy touch. And I always knew that it would come good. Even when we went 1-0 down, I thought that's fine. Like we've done it before and we'll do it again. But thank God for VAR. That did panic me a little bit.
That was the sickest I've ever felt in Wembley. I'm not going to lie. When that second one went in, I went, "Oh no, we're going to get absolutely annihilated here. This is awful." Because we'll get into the performance in that, and we didn't start well. I thought the first 30-ish minutes wasn't great. The second one goes in, and I went, "Oh no!" And then VAR popped up, and I went, "Ah." I've said many a time, I am not. Let's just say I'm an atheist. But I suddenly went, "Hmm." Maybe he did die for our sins after all. Like, and he's come back in the shape of VAR. Excellent. At first, I thought it was genuinely Jesus when he did the cross, but it was just the hand movements to kind of point the things out. Thanks very much, Chris Kavanagh. But look, we're getting into that decision, Ross, before we go into a couple of other questions. But that decision itself, I don't think there's any debate on it, but we will get into it. But the first question is a listener's question, Ross. And I think it's a really important question. And I think it's probably the best question we've ever been asked on the podcast, if I'm completely honest. How can a sausage be fucking upside down, Ross?
Don't know how many stupid cunt. Sorry, I'm swearing, but yeah,
That's fine.
as a
Paraphrasing.
exactly. But
Can
iconic,
a
isn't it?
sausage be upside down?
Don't think so. Could be sideways. Nah, I don't know.
Can it?
It cannot be. Even if you try and like cut it in half and that, it cannot be upside down.
Can't believe you've just blown everyone's mind and added a third option. Upside
did.
down, not upside down, but it could be sideways now. Fucking hell, he's going to lose his head, that kid.
How can it be sideways, man, you stupid little cunt? I think that I love the fact he was on someone's flag that said "Do it for them," and he's actually on it. Like he's become an iconic Sunderland man up there with Jackie White's Market and
But I think we
Ariel
need to talk.
Ortega.
I think we need to talk about the flags. Like some of the flags and
Yeah,
stickers this week were unbelievable.
yeah.
Like, and the best bit was at the end. My end of walking around Wembley with "Oi, big man, what's your name?" shirt on. Like, just sensational, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, oh, like you see, you try and put into words and you keep thinking about, it, but some of the things you were saying the whole weekend were just outstanding.
Do you know what it is? I even said to Ashley, like, there was certain things that were just happening that were just brilliant about the weekend. The flags, the people you meet, the people you bump into. But before the game, I'm just about ready to go into Wembley. And I think I was about 1:45, I think. And I walked in and just stood by himself with his little, and Gucci was there. And I went, "Ash, that's Gucci." And nobody was bothering him. And I was like, "Oh, I cannot not get a photo with Gucci. Like, it's Lyndon Gooch, do you know what I mean? It's like proper Sunderland." And I thought, "Oh, someone's going to spot him before I do here and he's going to get mobbed." And he didn't. I walked over and I was like, I went, "Gucci," as if he was my best mate. I went, can I please just get a photo? And he was like, "Yeah, of course you can." I went, "I know probably loads of people have asked him, but I cannot like not get a photo here." And he went, "Yeah, no problem. It's absolutely fine." And he had his little one with him and he went, "Stand behind dad. Like, don't get in the photo." And I actually went, "He can come with me if he wants." And he goes over. So the little one goes over and he's just like looking. And his little lad had clocked 20 on the back of his shirt, right? So anyway, got the photo. Fine, no problem. I thought, "Oh, that's nice. Get Sealand and Gooch before the game." Comes out afterwards, walks straight into him, almost like directly head on. And I went, "Oh, Lyndon," I went, "How are you, mate? Stop following us." I went, "You're already getting your photos, getting a bit weird now." And he like laughed, and went, "Oh, well, not again." And I was like, "Oh, great mood." Walked further along the road, walked my two nieces back to the coaches because they were getting back. About literally 10, 15 minutes later, we walked directly face to face again. And like in a non-jokey way, he looked at me and went, "Not fucking you again." I was like, just everything about the day was just really funny. Like everything about the day that could have been a positive or look back on as a good memory was just really, really funny. And then yesterday, the games were on and I wanted to watch Pickford stuff, the mags, all that kind of stuff, like enjoy my weekend. Of course, he did that. But I just kept going back to watching things. We were watching every vlogger, every blogger, everyone that did a YouTube video from every angle. I love that every single YouTuber, which I don't normally watch that much, but I wanted just to gorge on everything from the game, like the Sunderland stuff they posted, the whole lot. But every single vlogger, YouTuber had tickets in the Sheffield United end because they couldn't get tickets in the Sunderland end. So every single like view was just like silence with like this raw and massive bodies in the background. It was just brilliant. Like it's really hard to sum up and describe what a day it was, and I think it's why we've had to take a couple of we had to do it on Monday morning because my voice was shot yesterday. It's not great today. And like I don't think we could have done the podcast justice yesterday. I don't think we'll do it justice today, but hopefully people will enjoy it. I think one thing I want to touch on, well, I want to go into the game as well, but one thing I think that's really important to touch on, I always take the mic and say, please unsubscribe. Definitely please unsubscribe because this year we're going to have like Dave, the massive Liverpool fan from Cheltenham. And like, let's be honest, like I kind of prefer the championship guests in that sense, so to put everyone off. I jokingly say I hope the podcast ends tomorrow, but I said I think in the preview show the one thing that I do like about it is when we get to Wembley, which we've randomly done twice since we've done this podcast and won by the way, meeting people and chatting about like how they enjoy listening to it and why they enjoy listening to it. I met a lad from Albuquerque who he'd had a good drink and he was after the game he just went I really like the podcast and I was like like brilliant. And I don't care if he likes it or not. I don't care if people hate it. But being able to meet new people and talk about Sunderland is really, really good. Like, it's really, really fun. I met Michael from New York, which is brilliant. He was like, so I've been chatting to him for a while, Michael. I'm going to visit him next month when I go over to New York. And I was like, let's meet us in the pub. So I met him in this pub. And I was like, how was the flight? Because I'm terrified of flying. I'm basically Dennis Bergkamp to the point where I'm like, I might just miss this entire thing because I hate flying. So I went, how was the flight? Because I'm flying doing the other way around. I went, how was it? And he was like, yeah, like really bad. And I was like, all right. He's like, we got tossed about a bit. I went, okay, like what happened? And he was like, well, the stewardesses got in their jump seats and I know what that means. It means we're going to get chucked about a bit. And I went, oh God, were you all right, mate? He went, no, I thought I was going to be the story in the Sunderland Echo where essentially I came to see Sunderland and spent loads of money on the ticket, loads of money on flying over and just died. He went, that would have really killed the weekend, wouldn't it? And I was like, yeah, it would have been great. But like loads of people from around the world meeting them. People from not around the world, people from down the road in Sunderland, people in Scotland, Scotland branch was up there. That's always been my favourite part after Tommy Watson doing Tommy Watson. But look, let's get into the game a bit. Ross, the game itself, I feel like a lot of people have reflected. I've watched the 90 minutes back a few too many times. And like, I can't believe Sheffield United have conspired to throw this away. And I can't believe what they've done. Oh, they've been so dominant. But I honestly thought, and I like to think I'm balanced, I thought after the VAR decision, I think the last 55 minutes of the game, we controlled it. I thought we were winning the loose balls. I thought we were winning the second balls. And I always say, like, loose balls and second balls are what make me think we can win this in any game because it kind of comes down to effort. Sometimes people go, the second ball's always going to them, but that's down to effort. It's being there and making sure you're there. And I think the VAR decision flipped it. I think it made everyone go at both ends of the stadium, that's changed things. But, like, I don't think we're getting enough credit for that performance. I thought Job was absolutely outstanding. But, like, how did you find the performance? Because I thought we were really good and I thought we deserved it, Ross.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say up to the VAR decision, I thought we were really poor.
I'd agree with that.
We were second best to the title. Everything we were forcing it too much. You know what I mean? We're too worried. Like the ball over the top was the ball that went out every time, and we just weren't close enough together. I know that sounds really tactical and shit, but within 5 and 10 yards passing, it makes it so much easier when we got closer together. The first goal shows that when you're in 5-10 yards, how much easier it is to give and go 1 or 2 touch football. That's what when we put them patterns together in the triangles that Reggie loves. That's when we're great to watch as well. But you're right, the VAR, everything's been said about momentum these playoffs, and we proved it that if you don't have momentum, it means nothing. But we also proved that when Sunderland get momentum, it does mean something because on that, you see the VAR decision, the roar you hear it on the when you rewatch it, the roar when it got disallowed is louder than the roar from Sheffield United fans when they scored. It's so strange, and yeah, it did. I think second half. I don't want to go all Coventry City here, but we had a lot of the possession, but we didn't do much with it. I think the final third, the ball let us down. That final pass or that final shot just wasn't on target. But the only chance they really had second half was through Serkin having an absolute brain fart, which could have been catastrophic. And our man of the match, Anthony Patterson, had to pull us out of the shit again. By the way, hero status. Something about keepers wearing green shirts at Wembley, isn't there, for Sunderland? But yeah, then second half, I just felt as soon as my ender scored, I was like, "There's another one here." They basically, I think they knew as well. Sheffield United were like, "Oh, we've been there before at Wembley when we conceded the equaliser against Charlton. It's like, right, this this is going one way, and we know it's going one way. We've been here before, and you just had that feeling that if we could just put it together, have a go at them, and then, like I say, when Roberts came on, when Watson came on, when Lefebvre went centrally with Bellingham, we just seemed to have dominance on the game, and we controlled it better. And I just feel like it was just meant to be, and it just felt that way when you're in the ground as well. As soon as that first goal went in, you get the pure pandemonium, and you're like, we can't lose this now, surely. And we just, like I say, we just put it together, and what a way to say goodbye for Tommy Watson.
I love my Enders interview, by the way, when they went, did you have confidence that, after the sticky first half performance, you could pull it back? And he went, yeah, like we're a good team. Like on that CBS Golazo, whatever, he was just like, Rio Coco was trying to really question him, and he just was like, well, we're quite good at football. He said, just be confident. Like, we can win the game. But it's funny when my end equalised, I felt like it was coming. And look, it always sounds great and matter of fact, and there's no way for me to prove this, but Ashley could back me up. I suppose I went, the goal's coming here. It's coming. And when we scored, I went, right, go win it. Go win it now. And I thought there's only going to be one winner. And normally in Sunderland head, like I remember the Charlton game in the playoffs, I went, oh, just get the extra time, lads. Just push it as far as you can. Just get the extra time. My head was no way like that. It was like, go win it. You're winning every loose ball, every chance that they had after the second goal, which was correctly disallowed by VAR, by the way. Every chance they had was like a long ball over the top where like maybe the ball's bounced awkwardly or Kiefer Moores won a header or something like that. I didn't feel like they actually really cut us open that much, whereas I thought the first 30 minutes they were like all over us and I was like shit. But I honestly thought the performance was great. I thought we fully deserved it. Dave, I'll ask you the same question. We deserved it. I thought we played really, really well. I thought we responded really well after like what could have been a catastrophic second goal that was disallowed by VAR, Dave. Any disagreement on that? I'm assuming not.
No, not at all. I was gonna before we start recording, I was gonna go into it, and then I was like, no, I'll just have a passionate rant about it. So the narrative for Coventry was Coventry were much better than us because they had 60% possession. We've just done that against Sheffield United, but Sheffield United battered us for 70 minutes. I'm not having it. I'll give them the first 25, give them the first half an hour. But we were guilty, especially down our right hand side, of being too negative. Chris Rigg came back and passed sideways and backwards every single time. And I'm telling you now, there's at least, and no one cares now. No one cares whatsoever. I don't care. But there was at least 4 Sunderland players who had off days. At least 4 Sunderland players had off days. Dennis Serkin had a stinker. Dan Neil had a stinker. Riggy wasn't his usual self in terms of trying to go forward. He was a bit too negative. And I think and Mundell wasn't fit. You could tell he tried, but he wasn't match fit. So that's 4. And I tell you what, I agree. Like some of the saves off Pato were immense. The first one was unbelievable. The second one, his foot that blocked it, fantastic. Did that against Wickham as well, didn't he? It was more of his leg, but that was important. But I tell you what, I have seen people, and I don't know whether they're going for nibbles. If that's his last game in a Sunderland shirt, that is the best centre midfield performance I've seen from a red and white player for years, because Job was everywhere. He kept everything neat and tidy. He was on the half turn as much as he possibly could without losing the ball. And we were just guilty that first half. Like, we had 2 extra midfielders realistically, because we lined up as a 4-5-1 and they're playing 4-3-3 and their 2 wingers cheat. The ball was to go out the other side and we just didn't do it quick enough. That's all it was. So we still had an extra man when we went to 4-4-2 because, and we just had more technical. Like I said, Dan Neil was a little bit off. The occasion possibly got to him.
Did you hear what he said about afterwards? He said on 55 minutes his calves were just cramping up. He said he doesn't know why. He went, I'm not unfit. It's like I don't know what was happening.
Yeah.
But my calves cramped up because I agree with that. Daniel was probably the only one that was. I mean, I don't care. Look, I don't care because Daniel was. I rate Daniel so highly that when he's not 10 out of 10, I almost go, Daniel can be better than that because he's so good. But yeah, I agree with you on Job. I thought the midfield performance from Job. I think Pato's won us the game with the saves, potentially, you could say. Especially the one in the first half's absolutely it's unbelievable. It's outstanding. He stood up really tall when he needed to. He came for the crosses when he needed to. Big Pato there. I've given him stick for that, and I said I don't think. I said with Pato, I thought he reached his peak. He's proved me wrong. Thanks very much for doing so. I love that he's done that, but for me, Job was just from the first minute outstanding. I pray to God it's not his last game, but look, if it is, the kid's absolutely sweated his knackers off. And I mean that since day dot. For me, he was our player of the year. That's who I voted for. I feel like Job was just like colossal. And I think you've seen what it meant to him. It looks like it's taken a real emotional toll on him. I loved his interview afterwards. Me and you and all that were talking about it beforehand when he's just like, oh yeah, everyone wrote us off and said like, oh, they're too young, too naive. He was like, well, we're not. We've just won it. Like I love his confidence. It's class. It's like the opposite to my enders. It's like an angry kind of confidence, whereas my ender's just like the coolest man on the planet. Where he's like, yeah, I'm really good at football, by the way. But Sophie, I want to go through every performance. I actually want to go through every single performance, but I'm not going to get through this podcast without mentioning Trey Hume, sorry, absolutely making Brereton and Diaz shit his pants. Let's be honest. Is that the best tackle Wembley might have ever seen? After no, no, best tackle I've ever seen. No, I'm going to go with it. Is it the best one?
It has to be. I mean, from where I saw it, you could hear it, couldn't you? You could hear it in the whole ground. And where I was sat, literally everyone was like, yes, like get in. Obviously, we love a tackle. Like, we can't get away from that. We love a tackle. But you know what? Him as well. I thought he had a great performance. Really did. I thought the whole defence really, they did have a lot to do. Obviously, Sheffield United, they oppose great threats. They're pacey, they're aggressive, they're physical. They're everything that, a good championship team is. And I just thought we combated it so well,
I love
particularly
that you said
Trey.
championship. Sorry,
Championship. What a shame.
there's such
Enjoy
a
it next
championship
season.
quality team with a big lump up front,
Yeah,
unlike ourselves.
unlike ourselves, who are, we're a Premier
Premier League
Division
quality.
side. No, but it was a fantastic performance from him, and of course there were some. I agree with Dave where there were some players who probably didn't, and probably the occasion got to them just a little bit. But you're playing at Wembley, it's bound to happen. But I'm more pleased that we won it in that shirt as well. Buzzing.
It's such a good shirt, and they've all sold out. I'm really pleased. I got Ashley one. I've got two. I've got one signed by Patrick Roberts, thankfully, that I got signed the other week, and I'm going to get that framed up and stuff like that. And I'm pleased you mentioned the shirt, and I'm pleased you reminded me of that because Ross, I need to discuss something here. I my unadulterated love for Patrick Roberts is just ridiculous. I love the man so much. And me and Brad talked at half time and went, we're going to sound like geniuses saying bring Patrick Roberts on. Because we mentioned it in the half time pod. But I've said it for countless times. So many times I've said it. And I know some people don't rate him. But an assist at Wembley Ross, there's his end product. His defensive work is outstanding. He clearly wasn't 100% fit. We all know that. But he comes on and he just gives us something different and better. And for me, people talk about the players that we got at the club that are Premier League quality. I don't know how you can ostracise Patrick Roberts from that. Just the way that he drops. You see two defenders go on him and they drop back 5 yards. People are terrified of Patrick Roberts. He's gone from League One to the Premier League. And I think when we signed him, we said if he can reach his quality, that's a Premier League footballer playing in a League One team. He's going to be a massive asset. And I don't think he gets enough credit. Look, I love Patrick Roberts to the point where I seen his dad in Trafalgar Square and I almost wanted to go over and thank him just for doing what he did to make him. And then also thank his mum for the effort that she obviously would have put in beforehand because I absolutely love the bloke. And I'm so pleased that people are watching that game at Wembley and going, yet again, all right, I understand what Patrick Roberts brings now. Some people put them down, Ross, as the player of the game, player of the match. When he came on in the last, 20 minutes, he made such an impact. And that assist, there's not many players on that pitch that made that assist. He's class,
Yeah,
isn't he?
he was class. He just got the ball and took us higher up the pitch, linked the play up well with his 1 and 2 touch passing, and Yeah, I think Paddy's problem this year has been probably the lack of competition on his side, and he's had to play a lot of games without rotation. Like you say, Riggy's played there, but Riggy's not a natural winger. So, and he hasn't really had players to bounce off, like, Ahmad or Enzo's been put out on the left. Or haven't when Riggy's been there, his dip of form's probably because he's played too many games as well. So we've never had a constant partnership there, or something like, pure competition. And I think he said it came out today that he played at Wembley with a torn calf, Paddy Roberts, which is unbelievable to do what he did with a torn calf. Sensational, and I think nobody's doubted. I think maybe there've been criticisms even by me. We said on the podcast, I'm not going to be revisionist. He was poor against Coventry. His final ball wasn't there, but my God, he made up for it the way he played. And yeah, he was brilliant. And I think his quality's always been there. And what was great to see was the picture of Paddy, Cirkin, Pato, Dan Neil, '09, and I've missed someone, haven't I, from the League One days. Hume.
Trey, aye.
Yeah, they were all part of the League One playoff final squad, and now the Premier League players, which is a brilliant story because I'm sure when Swansea did it all them years ago, there was only Leon Britton who was in the League One team who went all the way. We've done it with six of them, and if you count Neil in there, who didn't even get on the pitch at Wembley. Hume didn't play for us in League One, but now they're Premier League players, which is crazy. And even the first season in the Championship, Ballard came in a bit of an unknown, really. Mayenda's come in from an academy in France. Wilson's come from being ostracised in Russia. Like the list could go on, you know what I mean? Like all these players that have come to Sunderland and proven themselves, and we've given them the opportunity. And I just hope that puts us in good stead for the. Obviously, we'll get on to next season eventually, but just to have that moment for the club and everybody who's worked hard behind the scenes. There's been bumps in the road, but they've stuck to the principles and they've stuck to the ethos throughout, and they've been 100% vindicated. And you've got to give them massive credit for turning us around from where they took us over in League One. They had a plan, they had a 5-year plan, they've done it in four. Amazing.
Yeah, look, we haven't really touched on that, have we? I think I have definitely been critical of them, and I think correctly so. It's just my opinion, it's just my thoughts, and I think if you've been really positive about the ownership or really negative about the ownership, I think the most important thing is that you're doing it because you care about Sunderland, and I think that's worth remembering. But when I think back to where we were, sometimes I look back to the League One days, and I'll be honest, I kind of go, I don't know how I survived that. And I know some clubs are always in League One, and I know some people will be listening to that, and it's like when we listen to Man United losing the Europa League final, we go, oh, brilliant, crisis. I get that, but I think each team has this league and each team has this level that they should aspire to be in and always aspire to be in. And Sunderland's it's never been that low. And look, I've softened my stance a little bit maybe on Stuart Donald. I think he was a misdirected man that wanted the best. As for the other bloke with him, my disdain has only grew. When I remember back to those days and the mess we were in, and we had a bunch of honest lads, I think, on the pitch, but they quite clearly weren't quite where we needed them to be. And when I think of how they got us out of that division by signing really talented young lads that had something to prove, that came in at cost efficient prices, concentrating on the academy again, the stick they've had from podcasts, writers, journalists, I think if you take out the Michael Beale appointment, it's really hard to think where they've fell backwards. There's always been maybe sometimes two steps forward and one step back, but we've always had that one step where we've been a little bit further forward. This season, they've just absolutely nailed it. The signing of Job, I think when we got him, I was excited. I thought, yeah, brilliant. If he turns out to be anywhere near a decent player, he'll be a really good addition. And if he goes on like a Premier League team, that'd be great. I think he's going to go on to bigger and better things than just the Premier League, if I'm completely honest. I hope it's with us. Of course I do. But I think if you told me the impact Job would have and the impact the likes of Cirkin would have, the impacts like Trey Hume would have, and what it would cost. I mean, you're looking at how much the Premier League squads are cost. The Premier League, I think the closest team to us in terms of cost is Nottingham Forest, and their squad cost 173 million pounds. Ours has cost 18. And no matter what I think of KLD or whatnot and all that and things that have happened in the past, and I've been really vocal about that, I cannot debate that. He's got a squad that's cost £18 million over a parachute payment team at Wembley. He's employed a manager that's, look, I don't know whether he was first choice or not, but my God, wherever he's come in the list of choices, he's been absolutely brilliant. The man's a genius. He lost 5 games to the crack, put everyone into like a false sense of security, and they went, right, we'll just smash the playoffs and score goals in the last minute every single stage of the playoffs. Just fantastic. I can't praise everyone enough. Even Ian Paveda, whose haircut is looking more and more like Ross's by the week with the little curls and a slightly outgrown skinhead. Abdul Samed looks like he's good for the dressing room, I suppose, at least. Bringing in Enzo Lefebvre, we said we felt like that was the next step. I don't know what the next season brings. It's going to be bloody difficult. But by God, I'm pleased we're going to be able to have a crack at it. And I have confidence in all of the players and I have confidence in the management. And I do have confidence in the ownership. I know there's rumours have been sold. I don't want to be. I'm quite happy for them to take us forward. And I think that's the biggest compliment I can give because that's 18 months ago. I don't know whether I would have 100% thought it was the right way. 100%, maybe it's 75. Now I'm 100% of the belief that they're the right people to take us forward. But before I go on in a big emotional rant, and my nose gets more blocked up, I want to give a bit of credit to another player, Dave, and we'll go into some listeners' questions and a couple of other ones that I've got. Losing Luke O'Nien now went, oh God, that's massive. It's no secret how big of a fan I am of Luke. And I felt like he would handle Kiefer Moore quite well. But he lands and I went, nah, he's gone. You could just tell because the nine doesn't go down like that. And I don't think Mipham's been great in the past few weeks. And I was a bit worried. And I thought, who's going to bring the ball out from the back? I don't know if it's because he's teammates with him at international level, but Kiefer Moore did nout after he came on. And I thought Mipham being put in after like probably been quite disappointed that he's been left out of the squad for the playoff games after playing most of the season. Although it was vindicated because Ballard, I thought he came on and I thought Mepham was an absolute colossus, Dave. I thought it was one of the best performances he's put in, and I thought it really made a difference. And I think he's had a great season when I look back in hindsight. Another great season, but a great performance from Mepham and fantastic celebrations at the end, Dave, as well. A nice little knee slide along the floor, or should I say, chest slide along the floor in the dressing room.
Absolutely. I think this process is what has served us so well, basically. I tweeted about it yesterday. You saw Lefebvre's reaction in the last minute where he drew the foul, and we saw that off Luke O'Nien against Wickham, and how much it means to them. And I now feel as though not only are we, and have been for a while, purchasing footballers, we're purchasing personalities and moulding them into what we need. And I think that just epitomises Chris Mepham's professionalism. The fact that we've said it for a long while, we seem to be at our best when we're getting footballers who have a little bit to prove, who've gone a little bit flat, who've gone a little bit under the radar, blah, blah, blah. And Mepham will be distraught at being on the bench. There's no doubt about it. However, in the days of Rodwell and Dong, certain people like that who would have come off the bench and just gone through the motions and gone through. Mepham's come onto the pitch and I've got a point to prove here. How dare you leave me out? Can't believe you've left me out. I'm going to prove whether it's for his own gratification or whether it's for the fans and the club. I suspect it's a combination of both. Then it's just refreshing to see, and it also gives you another edge. If you compare to like Kiefer Moore's performance, for example, it just looked like he was going through the motions. There was no real great passion there, no great drive. I think he made about a 3-yard sprint back once he took his touch like a bouncy castle for the goal. It was, and I just see the difference, the desire that we've got. It's a mentality thing. Job's been going on about it in the lead up to the final. It's a mentality thing, and it's quite nice, isn't it? We've now experienced both sides of it. Wickham, we were overriding favourites, and we proved we could do it. This time, we were such big underdogs. It's unbelievable. I don't understand why we were such big underdogs. We knew it. I've just to correct myself from earlier. For as much as I've said that there's 4 players had an off day, something that you constantly go on about, they've had an off day, but that's only because of the standards that they give us week in, week out. That's why they've had an off day, not because they were absolutely diabolical. I'm not saying that under any stretch, but by their standards and where we know that they can hit, they had a poor game compared to what we know they can put out there. Mepham, he just Reggie's attention to details class, isn't it? Because Sheffield United were then setting traps so that Dan Ballard was the one who kept getting on the ball, and then I think he tried 2 or 3 times to knock that ball over the defender on our right hand side, and he hit the ball too straight and ran straight out for a goal kick every time. So Reggie, in his infinite wisdom, swapped Ballard and Mepham round, and it's just that little bits of attention to detail, being proactive. I think he's played a tactical blinder with the likes of Roberts. Like, he knows that Roberts is so important to his system, but he's also very aware that that calf is not going to last 90 minutes. It's almost as if the market until the end brought about the substitutions. Just as I do think it's as clever as that. And I said from the minute that Labrie was appointed, if there's one thing that I will give him just through his aura and what he does, he's articulate. And I have no doubt that everything he has done this weekend has not been by fluke. And apart from Luke dislocating his shoulder, he probably didn't foresee that, which is poor from him. And I think he deserved the sack. But no, all in all, just all of them fantastic. And to have professionals like Mepham who've been there, done that, could be sulking because he's like, listen, I'm a Premier League footballer and you put me on the bench. Are you winding me up or what? And to come out and play the way that he did, I think he deserves massive credit, mate.
I think I love the team spirit, and you can see there's no clicks, but there's little bonds like Alan Brown, Simon Moore. You can see Riggy and Leo Yelder, like all these like little links together. But I think I spoke to, I think it was Alex Ray and Phillips and Quinn in the past, and they all talk about, oh, we basically wanted it for each other. And they've spoke about the bonus that they were getting and stuff like that if they all won and got promoted and stuff. But they said we all drank together and we all got on together. Like on that pitch, that was my mate and I'm backing him up. You don't always get that in modern day football because it's not like that drinking culture, and sometimes like players are individuals. But you can see those players care for each other. And it's like we care for them, they care for each other, they care for us. And there's just this bond that's just wonderful at the minute. And I think Reggie's talked about it on his interview afterwards and said like there's been a connection with the fans since the start. And whilst it's had occasional little drop-offs because we're all reactionary and mad and nuts and care about 11 men on a football pitch, and we let that debate and we let that control our mental health and our mental well-being every week. It has been a brilliant season. And Sophie, the biggest and best thing I like about this. So Sunderland supporting captain winning at Wembley, the first since Rich Carter in 1937. A Sunderland supporting player being player of the match, and a Sunderland supporting goal scorer who I've never said anything bad about at any point, Tommy Watson, love you. How proud are you that we did it that way?
Oh, completely. You know what? It. I keep saying it, and it's easy to say when you've won and when you've achieved something as outstanding as what we have and what we've been through. But it feels like something's clicked in us that hasn't been there for at least the last decade. No, I'm super proud. We've always had talent in our academy, and we've always had talent in local lads. Of course we have. But it feels like something has clicked in us in the past decade, and that hasn't been there since, probably since last time we were in the Premier League. We've always had this kind of, I don't want to say defeatist, but we have done. And whether that be just because of this season's probably been my best season supporting Sunderland, because, we've seen us win and we've seen us win at Wembley and seen us get promoted, of course. But this weekend, more than ever, I've never been more proud to be a Sunderland fan and to be from the area that I'm from and see them young lads take it on. And, your likes of Tommy Watson, an extremely brilliant parting gift, £220 million. It's amazing. I remember looking around the stadium when we were 1-0 down, and I said to my mum, I went, this can't happen. I was like, this, looking, there was not a seat spare in our end, not one. And then obviously you look over at the other end, and I thought, we deserve this more than anyone. Them young lads have had a brilliant season. You know, we've already talked about the media bias against us, even though we've got a brilliant team. And the fact that we've got representatives of our area and of us on the pitch is something that we should all be really proud of.
Yeah, like I think correctly so. There's obviously something that wasn't right with Tommy Watson for a little while after the Brighton move got announced. I still don't understand it. I think I understand it even less now when I look at him. As a Sunderland supporting lad to do that and then to move on, it just cancel it. Like it's sort it out. Like if I was Tommy, I'd be like, right, Brighton, I've really made a mistake. I'm so sorry because dare say maybe we'll get him back on loan. I don't know, but ultimately, if you said to me like, all right, Tommy Watson gets a winner in the playoffs or gets a winner against Coventry or whatever it is, or makes an impact, and he made an impact in both the goals because he that little pass that he puts on, like I think he gives it to Job, who then gives it into Patrick, or it might be in Daniel. That was brilliant as well. He played such a massive part. He had a really good last 20 minutes. He was actually fantastic when I think about it. He totally gave us like a new step up, a new bit of a bit more of impact. If you told me that he would come on and have that impact and it would make me look like a divvy for saying I don't know whether you should play for the rest of the season, oh, I'm all for it. Like I'm all for it because in an ideal world, if he is going to leave, I wanted him to have that kind of impact. I don't want him to leave, if I'm honest. I think you can quite clearly see at points there's a lot of quality there, and I'm a bit sad that it's not going to be at Sunderland and it's going to be at Brighton. But like, okay, when I watch him, you can quite clearly see he's a young, quiet lad that has just gone, "Oh my God, what have I just done?" But he'll always have that, and I think someone pointed out on Twitter, they said next day, first game of next season, Brighton away, and we all go dressed as Tommy Watson, and I'm all for that. I'm all for that, and I'm so chuffed for him. I think he's been misadvised by certain people with that move, and I think he might come to regret it. But one thing he'll never regret is what he did, and he'll always be with him that. And I think that's the most important thing. And add in Pato, add in Dan Neil, add in all the local lads and the likes of Jordan Henderson watching on and stuff like that. It was just phenomenal to see that, as you said, we have representatives of us on the pitch all over in every position, and that's you can't ask much more than that. You know, sticky Brazilian midfielders up your arse. I want my Sunderland supporting captain in the middle. That's what I'm happy with because he's understood it since he came out the womb, not just understood it because he's getting paid 100 grand a week. There's a couple of good listeners' questions, Ross, but before we move on to them, where does it rank in Sunderland memories for you? That
Personally, that's my favourite memory. The best. Um, just that moment, I wish I could bottle it up. If you could bottle up that moment and just give it anyone, the feeling of just pure euphoria on it. Like, it was bedlam. Like, both goals was just crazy. For the first goal, I was jumping around, and all of a sudden, I literally got lifted off my feet. And just as I'm a big lad, it takes a lot to lift me off my feet. And Brad just came out of nowhere from the other block, and I was literally in the air, just picking me up. And then the second goal, which I haven't posted much about at all on my Twitter or Facebook because I'm not that vain at all.
I am.
I know I 100% have. I've posted absolutely loads. I'm jumping around on the video on Sky Sports like a lunatic. I just totally lost it. It was just a feeling like that you're never gonna have. And the thing going through was I wasn't confident. I was a bit different. I was a bit more like it can't be because it can't keep going like this. We've got our Ballard goal. Like it doesn't happen to Sunderland. We can't have two moments. We have one a season, one every other season. You know that was our moment, but it was, and I think it was because I didn't expect it, and especially in the manner till the end. The greatest PR campaign in football history, by the way. Give whoever came up with that a raise. It was just one of them feelings, and then after it was always like before, sorry, it was always imagine if it did happen, and then it did, and I was like, shit, what do I do? Like I just lost it, totally lost it, and yeah, just up there for me, one of the best. Cried happy tears. I got to see a lot of people I care about, and good friends there on the day as well, and I could just talk about it on and on and on forever, and I don't want this bank holiday weekend to end because then we've got to worry about next season. I just want to bottle up this moment, this feeling, this weekend, and just enjoy this team.
Yeah, I'm the same. There's a few people have like got a few questions about next season. I didn't care. We'll come to that when we do. Like, let me just enjoy it for a minute. Like asking Reggie Breeze, how can his team stay up? Sure, man. Just let him enjoy his day. But I agree with what you said there. I think the beauty of supporting Sunderland is when you support Sunderland 9 times out of 10, you're there with people you care about and you love. And if you're not, and you've got games by yourself, the person next to you cares about what you care about as much as that. And I think if I had any regret about it, Dave said before, Pete not being there, I wish Pete was there. But I also wish Sophie and Dave were closer to us because you'll see when we post all the videos in our vainness, me, Ross, and Brad had bought as close as we could next to each other, just in case. And it made such a difference. Like me and Ross bubbling at each other. I just seen his face and it makes me cry. Just for obvious reasons. That's why we do an audio podcast. And then seeing Brad, seeing little Archie, like what is he 13 now? Brad's kid. And he said, I'm really nervous. And I said before the game, I went, don't be, son. Like, we've got this one. This is one we've got. And there's the lad behind me who said he'd listen to the podcast. And I said to him, I says, got this, He went, do you think? I went, aye, we're fine today. I said, I'm not leaving here. I said to him, I'm not leaving here without a win. And afterwards he was like, you're not leaving without a win. You can leave now. Um, yeah, the best of my life, I think. It's really weird. I was thinking about the best games I've ever been to. England beating Denmark 2-1. England beating Germany 2-0. Brilliant experiences. Some of the best of my life from an international perspective. Sunderland, I never thought Bordeaux scoring at Man United would ever be topped. Ballard topped that. And then Wembley tops it all. I just don't think there's a better memory. And nothing can take it away. And I've talked a few times on the preview shows about like not enjoying the Premier League, not really caring about it. Stand by that. Like I don't really like Premier League football and the goalkeeper standing on the ball for 25 seconds. Like I don't mind Russell Martin. I don't like that style of football, if you know what I mean. I don't like Pep Guardiola's style of football, and I don't like how money orientates the Premier League. And I said, I don't really care about going up and being in the Premier League. What I care about is having that day, and the day couldn't have gone better. If I'd scripted it, it wouldn't have been that good. So I just think it's an unbeatable weekend, unbeatable memory that I really wish didn't have to end, but it does. We'll go into a couple of listeners' questions because there's some decent ones. I'm going to change this a little bit. This is a good question, actually. He asked who would be 5 realistic signings this summer, but I'm not doing that. Let's just go, Dave. Who would be your first, like your KLD, your Regis Labrise? Who's your first signing next season? In an ideal world, like obviously Messi's not counted.
Sorry, I thought you were going to add a bit on there.
Enzo Lafay. Done it.
Yeah, well played. That was class. The fact that he removed it from his bio about 10 minutes after the game, by the way. Roma. Love that from him.
Oh, man.
What a way to endeavour yourself to Sunderland fans, stuff like that. The only way it could have been better was we love What the Folk and FTM. But other than that, sorry, WTF. I think he was probably in the stadium on Saturday, if I'm honest. And I think it's just the obvious choice in terms of what we're going to need.
Kevin Phillips.
Exactly that, him and Quinn. It's just a double signing. Remember when we got Tor Andre Flo and Marcus Stewart? It's like that all over again. Some people will be like, oh, you're talking about Jack Clark? No, I'm not talking about Jack Clark. I think Mundell deserves his chance there, if I'm quite honest with you. And I wasn't sure about him. The same as Luke O'Nien when they first got them. So it's a good job I don't make signings. But for me, I think it would be Jordan Henderson. I think it just makes sense for everyone, for him personally. And we are going to need... I don't want to predict the future, even though that's what we do here.
No, we need numbers. We do.
But I've always been a big fan, especially since we got to League One, of looking at teams that get promoted and stuff. Now, I'm not saying we're going to finish 7th like the Reedy years, unfortunately. I wish we would. But I always believe when you get promoted, you have to have a philosophy and a style of play in place. And that sets you up better for the division above, as opposed to the personnel that you've got in your squad. And I firmly believe firmly believe that Sunderland's style of play and the group of players that they've got, which we're undoubtedly going to lose a couple, but we will definitely bring in reinforcements. I think it stands us in good stead for how the Premier League is played. And I'm really excited for the challenge, but I do think it's really important to have experience in there. And I think Jordan Henderson, Jesus, how much more experience can you have? He's won everything there is at club football level. He's been on foreign shores now, one of them, luckily a short stint, and he probably regrets that. But it's a great homecoming for everyone, isn't it? Give him an 18-month contract and let's see where it goes. But that'll be the one for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree that if it's possible, Jordan Henderson should be one of the first on the list. There was another question that said from Ross, really good question. Do you think they'll change the model or do you think they'll stick with it? I think what they'll do, I think they'll go very similar to what they did last summer. I think we will go for youth again, but this time you can maybe go for youth that's already starting to show a bit of promise, if that makes sense. Not like maybe taking a risk. Look, they've been brilliant, but buying a player from Linfield would always be a risk. Buying Dennis Serkin, who'd not played a first team game, was always going to be a risk. They've worked out. There's been other ones like Hamir, Abdullah Bar, who's coming back in the summer. I'm sure he'll fit into the squad nicely, Premier League footballer. There's players that haven't worked out, and a lot of them have been probably because you have to take the risk. Like Pembele had something, but like, I mean, obviously he's not going to get into the team. But now we've got a bit more money where we can maybe put money into players that we already know a little bit about and will potentially get even better. Like, for example, if we didn't have a Chris Rigg, you'd maybe look at like a Chris Rigg. That could maybe be like a signing you could make. I think that's where they'll go with it. But I think they changed it a little bit in the summer, which we were really pleased about when they brought in Alan Brown and they brought in Simon Moore, which is obviously a big part in the dressing room. I think Jordan Henderson's basically your Premier League Alan Brown. And I think it's just a massive no-brainer to make that signing. I think especially if we lose Job. Oh, please don't go, Job. Please don't go. I don't want you to go, man. Like, I love you so much. And if you do go, tell your brother we've got a spot. If Jude's out of the question, though, his best mate, Jordan Henderson, should probably come home. And I know there's a lot of crack with his taxes and that because he made that stupid, idiotic move. But if there's any way to make it happen, Hendo's the one for me. Sophie, is there any disagreement on that, considering I think that potentially Messi might fancy just staying in Miami rather than coming to Jackie White's?
Sorry, I know, Sophie, just the one, if we had a fantasy one, all right, and I apologise, Sophie, for cutting you up, but if we had a fantasy one, talking about bringing players home, if you could incorporate it in the deal, I wouldn't mind Claudio Reyna's son back in the Premier League, would you?
It's yeah, you know what, Michael from New York, he said he was like put a five on Reina signing, and I went, oh, do you know them? He went, no, I just think that might happen, and I went, yeah, yeah, you know what? Talking about the model, Sophie, there's a good point. That's a young player that's shown potential that people know about that could do something in the Premier League that we could probably bring in for like quote unquote a bargain price. I think that's what we'll do with the model, but look, after Endo's inked his contract and stayed, and of course Salis Abdul Samid confirmed he's deserved stay at the club. Fantastic new vibes, man. Is Hendo the man for you, or are you dreaming of Ahmad?
Oh, Ahmad would be amazing,
Mm.
but you know what, Hendo would be. I think it would be a sensible signing as well in terms of experience, in terms of he knows what it means to the area and that type of thing. And you know, like you say, the model won't change; it'll adapt. And I think that's the most important thing, that we don't lose our identity because it's got us this far. And they could sign five players that are experience led, and they could sign five players who fit the model and fit the idea that we're going to develop them. Look at Brighton. Brighton still do sign experienced players. When they signed Danny Welbeck, they've got that down pat. So I don't have any worries about us in terms of investing. People say, oh God, what they're going to do. They'll invest very strategically, as they have done in the years that they've been at the club. Speakman, I have faith in Speakman that he knows what he's going to do. It's a big summer. I said a couple of months ago, regardless of where we are, this summer was always going to be big. and what a summer to go up, because we all know what next summer is. You want players who they want to be aware, they want to play, they want to get into the international teams, ready for international football next year. So I think it's a good. I think Jordan would be a good signing, but also that we keep on with the model that our club believe in.
Yeah, I think we have to stick with it, and I think I hate saying this, but I think people realize it's such a big thing because it just puts us back on the map. I don't want to think about it at the minute, but it's going to be a difficult season. If the worst case happens, we suddenly become that parachute payment club, which we've already seen is so difficult to get beyond. And we're also a massive football club. I've said I think Leeds will stay up next season. And I think that's because, yes, their parachute payments help them get up because of the squad they've got. But I also think they're such a big club, they'll be able to make some really good signings when they get up, which is probably different to, like, no offense to Ipswich, Southampton and stuff like that. I think that is probably the difference between Leeds and some of those other clubs that went up last season, like your Leicesters and stuff, that came straight back down. Leeds can attract players. I think Sunderland are in that ballpark. I think we can attract big players. The fact we even talked about Jordan Henderson as the first signing, and the fact we can like bring Enzo Lefebvre in terms of like a Roma player wants to come play in the Championship, on the off chance he might get a place and play for us in the Premier League, I think speaks to how big we are, and I think we quite clearly have a very good recruitment team. Which, look, I trust them to get most of them right, and I hope they do this summer because it's really important that they do. But Ross, can I throw something else at you? This is not a listener question. This is just my wishful thinking because he's now a Premier League goal scorer. Ross Stewart?
No, no, no.
What?
We need
Should have
players
asked Dave.
who we know we can rely on.
We
No
can. He's
offense.
class. He's class.
He is class when he's fit, but we need people who've played games at a high level for who are going to be there to make an impact. We can't take any. I don't think we. I know we can take in risks with the model, but I don't think we can take any needed risks on people who don't fit within the model. And I don't think Ross Stewart fits in the model anymore. So no, I'm sorry to be the buzzkill there, Graham.
I think
But
I think the caveat to that is I think Mayender and Isidore are already Premier League mid. So you probably only need a third striker or a utility man who can just be there as backup. And if you get Ross Stewart for 1.5, 2 million, and I'm not suggesting that's his market price, to sit on the bench and give you 20 minutes of non-stop running the channels and stuff, I wouldn't say no.
Me and
But we
Dave are
all know.
very, very biased towards our love for Ross Stewart. So for us, it would be like, let's spunk 15 million on him and let's go. But Ross, I'm gonna bring in another question in because that was kind of half tongue in cheek. I don't think it would happen. I just love Ross more than life itself sometimes, so I'd take him back in a heartbeat. But here's another question for you. I know it doesn't always work, and I think Ipswich did it last year, and kind of there's a really obvious one that didn't work. Was there any players from the teams that didn't go up, i.e. Coventry, Sheffield United, and the teams that come down, that you wouldn't mind adding to the squad?
Gus Hammer, he was sensational for Sheffield
Aye,
United. He was their
he's
best
fast,
player
isn't
by
he?
a absolute mile. Yeah. Um,
He's
he was so for a lad who looks chunky, he's really fast. Like it's so weird. He doesn't look like he should move like that in the nicest way possible. But he's just the way he was on the ball. He was brilliant. Yeah, Gus Hamer. But there's talk of him already going to Leeds, which I'm sure Sheffield United fans will fucking love even more, which is brutal. But I thought Sidney Peck was really good in centre midfield for them as well. I think they lost a bit when them two went off. I think
mm,
Wilder kind of lost his way a bit. I know we'd improved, but he helped us in a way by taking them off. Them two, I'd say, are the only ones. I don't think there's any more obvious ones out there in the championship, to be honest.
Redoni.
Maybe, but this is his first good season in how long?
I mean, yeah, you're right. And also, I think you cost him 5 million. And I think if we went and put 10 million on Redoni, I'd be a bit like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you,
not for me.
that's what I mean. And I don't. How young is Redoni? Is about 25.
Yeah, 24, 25. I'll
Been around a
Google it.
bit.
But
Yeah, watch him be 21. I don't think like self like a right dick. But yeah, like I say, there probably will be some out there who have been looking at all season, and I'll be like, oh yeah, God, can't believe I forgot about him. But off the top of my head, it's going to be interesting. But I'm going to put a name out there, which is left field. He's been playing in and out for Wolves on loan. He's not going to go back to Man City. Tommy Doyle, players like that. who've got Premier League experience on loan from the top six clubs who aren't going to be in the plans. That would suit our model down to a T, and that would be one way we could put good, big investment in, and everyone could buy into. So, obviously, I think it's probably a wild dream to get Tommy Doyle, but players of that ilk around Europe.
And you've also got James McAtee, who's done really well for City. I don't know if I think that's a yeah. Look, it's exciting. I'm enjoying it. It's good fun. Messy. Let's just go for it. Let's go for the crack. Why not? I'm enjoying this. It's the first time I've been able to dream of Sunderland being a Premier League team for quite a while. Got a couple more listeners' questions. Sorry to miss you out on this one, Sophie, but you'll understand why this needs to be a Dave question. Will Michael Beale be updating his PowerPoint somewhere saying he put foundations in place for our promotion?
Well, it definitely on his CV now, isn't it? Like, it's the absolute classic cliche, isn't it? He'll get himself into an interview and he'll go, "Well, basically, what I like to think is when I go into a club, by the time I leave, it's an improvement." And I think we can all see that with Sunderland, that I have clearly improved them. So give me a job.
Good luck, Hull. Sophie, this is a good question that I'm going to end us for all of us because I said before I'm just looking forward to what's coming forth. I think it's going to be really difficult. And I'm sure we'll get a bit more realistic in time when the delirium is worn off about what's to come, which is going to be, like I say, ridiculously difficult and only gets harder every year. But what are the three games you're looking forward to most next year, if I'm not asking a stupid question?
Well, considering I've been to some of the worst grounds that ever exist, I am really looking forward to, I think, Anfield, because I've never been before. Anfield, Old Trafford, because that's an easy 3 points at the moment. And I'm not going to say the one that everyone wants me to say, probably, but I'm going to say Wolves because I've never been. I've never been. I've been to a lot in the Birmingham area, and I imagine that's a good away day. But honourable mention to the new Everton stadium because I like Everton.
I'm so sad we missed one last dance at Goodison. I seen some
I
Everton fans on
know.
the train yesterday and wish them well, shall we say, and they did well. But yeah, Goodison was right up there with one of my favourite grounds. But if we're gonna go away games, like what grounds am I looking forward to? I've done Old Trafford and I've done Anfield. I'll go again because it's an easy trip, but I've done them a few times. Newcastle away. I love the Mags away. Like my record is St James's is unbeaten. I've seen 3 draws, 3 wins, so I've only got good memories of it.
Well, you can go then.
Please
I'm
get me
not
a
going.
ticket.
No.
I'll be fine for a ticket. I also feel, at least I should be, I mean, famous last words, but I just love going to that game away because on that day, I'm everything that I know I am. Red and white, Sunderland, and they're everything I know I'm not. And I just love that. Come what may. And that's going to be a rough game. Come what may. I love being Sunderland and I love not being them on that day. And I love doing it. Like, no matter what happens, I've seen them beat us plenty of times. Like, it's not like it's a thing I've never experienced before. But my unbeaten record hopefully will continue. If it doesn't, I'm still Sunderland when I leave that stadium and I'm still Sunderland when I enter it and I'm still not them. And that's what I like about it. I think outside of that, I'm really excited for Spurs' new stadium. I'd be really excited to see that. I think Spurs' new stadium looks really impressive. I did White Hart Lane 3 times. Got beaten the last minute twice. Did a random Tuesday night when Asamoah Jan bagged. It'd be nice if we did the Asamoah Jan thing. I'm really not excited for like the likes of Stamford Bridge and that. Overpriced, not that great. The way ends rubbish anyway. We'll probably get beat. I think I'm excited to see. Tell you what I'm most excited to see. Vibes man Leo Yelder against Mohamed Salah. That's what I'm. That's what I'm there for, and that's what I'm all about. But I think for me, them lot away, them lot at home, Spurs away, Everton away. I've never been to West Ham's ground. I've been to Upton Park a couple of times, bowling ground, whatever you want to call it. So it'd be nice to get a new ground with that. But yeah, for me, them lot home and away. That's it. That's the game I'm most looking forward to because it just reaffirms what I know about myself that I'm red and white through and through and I bleed it and that I'm not them. And that's the most important thing for me. Ross, you're twisting your face.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. Have we played Brentford in the new stadium? Sorry, that was my thinking face.
Have we?
I was no, I don't think we have.
I've been to the ground. I went to
I
the
think
women's Euros.
the last time we played them was at their old ground
It's a good ground, mate.
when we got relegated from the Championship because we're 3-0 up and drew 3-3 or something, didn't we?
Griffin Park,
Yeah, that was the one we went to.
Grayson.
Grayson, yeah.
Ah, you're right,
So yeah,
actually. It's a nice
so no,
ground. I went in the Euros, the women's Euros. So I went to Spain, Germany. They've got like televisions hanging from the ceiling, so you can like watch the replays and that. It sounds weird, but it's actually decent. Like I actually really liked it. I remember leaving being like, "Yeah, it's a really decent ground, actually, as small as it is." I'm not looking forward to going to Bournemouth away because I'm banned from the Bournemouth Weatherspoons because I told the barman to go away, shall we say?
but isn't this exciting though? You know what I mean? Like we talked about all of the
Yeah.
transfers. It's just good to have that buzz, and you know what? It could go horribly wrong, but who cares? We're here with an opportunity to have a go, and as long as we do it and we're competitive, who gives a shit?
And you'll never take that day away from me, no matter what. I said
Exactly.
before, I just wanted the day. I've had me day. Dave, I'll let you have the final word, which is always a risk. But 3 games looking forward to, home or away. You can give me 3 of each if you want to. I'm not bothered.
Yeah. I, I don't know what Sophie said in terms of like Wolverhampton and stuff like that. They are proper class away days. They've got proper fans.
I've done Wolves. Good away day that.
Yeah, they're epic, to be honest. I think they'll be the same at Forest. I think Forest in the City ground will be fantastic as well. Yeah, Mags at home will be brilliant. You know, Mags away, of course, it's fantastic, but there'll be something special about having us lot there and being at home and cheering it on. I'm just looking forward to it all. I know it's sitting on the fence. It's really boring. I've obviously been around too many journalists the last couple of years. You know what I mean? But it's fantastic just to be even thinking about it. But yeah, Forest, Wolverhampton Wanderers, probably all the away days because I'm lucky that I've lived through an era of home games with the excitement, with the buzz that everyone who's got a full season ticket is going to experience next season. And there will be a buzz, there will be a demand for tickets, and that concourse will be fully open. Let's hope they move the away fans down to the lower bowl. That'd be quite nice for everyone involved. And everyone's just going to have an unbelievable season. I don't think we're going to get blown away. It is going to be tough. Do you know what I mean? But I think seeing Trey Hume fly into, in Bernardo Silva or something like that will be absolutely fantastic to see.
I was there, Northern Ireland versus Scotland, and it was Andy Robertson, quite clearly a very good left back, against Trey Hume. And every Scotland fan afterwards went, I don't know who that kid is, but he's absolutely done. Andy Robertson, like Andy Robertson's gotten out of him. So I know he didn't have the best of game the last time he played a Premier League team, and I know some of the other players didn't. But some of the other players I played against Premier League teams didn't, sorry. But I've seen Trey handle a very, very good world class left back. So I've got full confidence in Trey Hume absolutely thundering into someone like that. Fingers crossed that we're in a specific shout when that happens. But look, I'm off to go and have a wee because I'm desperate for one. And I'm off to go and watch the highlights again. But Sophie, Ross, Dave, I'm sure we'll do more podcasts in the summer. But thanks very much for joining on a absolutely fucking fantastic weekend.
Absolute pleasure, bud.
Thank you all. We are Premier League.
Maybe.
Custard creams.
Custard creams.
I am the custard cream man, according to someone down Wembley. Fantastic.